Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Iesha Baldwin. I am the Director of Environmental Programs for Let's B.I.G.G.E.R nonprofit here in Louisiana.
And I am Malik, Baloney, founder of Let's B.I.G.G.E.R. Hello, Brian, Maya, Rick, Tori. Thank you all for having us. Go ahead, Iesha.
And because it's such a small group, I would like everyone to introduce themselves. You can leave your camera off, but we do want to know your name, your preferred name, and where you're from, and what you do. All right. Anyone can go first. Just unmute yourself and then feel free to go.
Okay, I'll go first. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rick. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Rick Duarte, and I work for the Metropolitan Water District, Southern California. We bring in water to Southern California from the Colorado River and the Sierra Nevadas. We serve roughly 19 million customers, and we're the largest water wholesaler in the U.S. Now, my portion is I work for the small business community. So we make sure any of our construction and engineering contracts over 100,000 have a small business component. So I'm constantly advocating for small businesses within our organization. And in addition to that, just always trying to look out to see how we can improve our green construction and making sure that we meet some of our goals. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
Thank you, Rick.
This is Maya. I can go next.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yep. My name is Maya. Maya's preferred. And I'm currently based in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm a Los Angeles native. I used to work in the green building space in Los Angeles, very much so with USGBCLA. And yeah, continuing to stay involved and educated through conferences like this. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for attending, Maya. All right.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Tari Mans. I actually work in museum publishing, but I have a background in construction management in New York. I'm based in Los Angeles now. I'm working on a master's in sustainable urban management, so I would like to get back into that side of the industry at some point.
All right. Sorry.
Anyone else?
Yeah. And if you don't want to go, that's fine.
Yeah, we can
We can get started. Yeah, that's okay if your mic doesn't work. We can get started about
Well, let's say Brian had something to say actually.
all right. Yeah, and if you also feel more comfortable doing your introduction in the chat, that's fine as well. We're gonna talk more about what Cancer Alley is, where it's located, and why it was coined that name colloquially. And then we'll also talk more about Let's B.I.G.G.E.R and what we do here in Louisiana, and how we are developing a green building workforce here in Louisiana. And Malik he'll be leading that conversation. If at any time you all have any questions or even comments, I'll be on the other computer. There's one right next to me answering questions that you all have. But you can just leave in the chat, and I'll be answering it from Malik's computer. So it'll have Malik Baloney answering the questions. All right, you can start.
All right. So everyone, briefly, I'm pretty sure most of the people here in the chat know what Cancer Alley is. It's a 85-mile stretch of river in southeast Louisiana that involves some of the largest industries in the world. Actually, we've got, I believe Port of Louisiana is one of the largest ports in the Northern Hemisphere. The term Cancer Alley came about as large refineries create waste, depending on who you ask, that causes a pretty high infection rate amongst the locals. Let's Be Bigger was founded about 5 years ago now. Let's Be Bigger is an acronym. Bigger stands for by integrating greater good, everyone's rewarded. And the purpose of Let's Be Bigger is really to address the issues of the local people from a local standpoint. Many of the nonprofits that actually function here in Cancer Alley, Southeast Louisiana, tend to be foreign or alien, outside of the state, even outside of the communities, even if they are from New Orleans. New Orleans actually isn't a part of Cancer Alley. So I felt that it was necessary to take up the mantle of a local and with a cosmopolitan approach, address some of the issues that plague our community. That being said, salvaging, repurposing, lower consumption, just things that everyone in this chat or at this conference are familiar with. You have to understand that many of the people in these communities are from impoverished, what's the term that's used, underserved communities. So the people here really don't know that they're in an underserved community. They're not aware of these catchphrases and these words that we use in the industry to communicate the things that are being done in the industry. So in order to have the people here feel as if they're a part of the solution, this is what Let's Be Bigger is here to do. So some years ago, I began with buying what were considered dilapidated homes. Unbeknownst to the owners, these homes were basically, in many rights, pre-industrial, I guess you could say, because some went back 200 plus years. Homes that were made of old growth cypress, which, if you know anything about Southeast Louisiana, we had old growth cypress forests that were basically the southern equivalent of redwood forest. And those trees at the time they were harvested were anywhere from 600 to, in some cases, 900-year-old trees. So it was old growth wood, cypress, which is termite resistant, water resistant. It was actually the wood that Southeast Louisiana and much of the South was actually built on and with. But in these communities that have lost population over years and people have moved to bigger cities and moved away from where these homes sat. So we started to salvage the materials and use the materials in the community to have the members of the community actually benefit from those materials and use those materials to enlighten, especially the young people, about those materials. But the main purpose of Let's Be Bigger is, again, integration. By integrating greater good, everyone's rewarded. And that integration, the way it works with the salvaging process is that we can use that wood. For instance, the table we're actually having this conversation on, our laptop on, is made from a reclaimed cypress door. We can teach the children here how to count rings on a tree. We can use that material to teach the kids about why a table at Rent a Center, which is the furniture stores that the kids have here because we're in an underserved community, cost $500, and why a table at a high-end furniture store in New Orleans, let's just say for the sake of argument, Restoration Hardware, costs $5,000 because of the materials, because of the labor to remove the nails and metal detected, and this is old growth wood with a higher ring count versus this new material that was harvested in a handful of years and it's only 20 years old. So so it's basically a teaching tool. Much of it is a teaching tool. What it also does is it teaches repurposing, because in these communities, for the most part, we're talking fast fashion, fast food, just really a lack of awareness to the things that in many communities we might call cutting edge information. Or, for instance, I believe it was Maya who said, some of you are in, New Zealand or LA or New York or wherever it is you may be, but this is the South. This is the rural South, actually. LA is a city with a larger population than the state of Louisiana. So we've got people here who haven't traveled much. They haven't. It's just not to whip a dead horse, but it really is. It's Louisiana. We win at losing. So when we started salvaging the houses, we were able to give jobs to men in the community who've been in prison, which is another part of Southeast Louisiana, the highest incarceration rate in the in the free world. Men who have served time, they've overcome or are still overcoming addictions. Women also who have to move into a blue collar workforce because of the job availability here. So it's really not a remote workplace type environment, so you gotta basically have a real 9 to 5 where you show up and you put in some muscle and you do something physical. And so that's what people here know, and that's what the purpose of some of these salvaging projects were. But also what we intend to do and are doing is introducing some of the solutions that are introduced at a conference like this one to the community. So for instance, we just had Hurricane Ida here less than a year ago. We are still recovering from Hurricane Ida. Iesha and I both had to relocate for several months because of Hurricane Ida. St. John Parish, which is, we don't have counties here, we have parishes in Louisiana, which is our equivalent of a county. St. John Parish, which is one of the hardest hit next to the parish we're in, St. James. At last report, I believe in December of 2021, they put roughly 1 million cubic, don't quote me, square yards and maybe square feet of waste into the landfills because all the homes that were damaged. So there was just homes being demolished, thrown into barrels, large roll-offs, and being taken to a makeshift trash pickup. And I think St. John Parish may have lost up to 20% of its single-family houses during Ida, if not more. But that being said, those materials, in our opinion, are a teaching tool. They can be used to teach the community about repurposing materials, about building a solar water heater. They can be used to create, in one instance, we're actually doing headboards with some of the reclaimed materials for some of the kids here who actually lost furniture in the storms. So with that being said, it's a multi-pronged approach to a multi-pronged problem. And the salvaging even goes as far as here in this community also home ownership, which is down because of financial issues. So people actually lose properties because they can't pay taxes, or a family member may die without a will, and then it kind of gets lost in some way, shape, or form. And I think that in a nutshell kind of covers what it is we're doing. I don't know if you got any questions or if you want to add something to it, Iesha.
Does anyone have any questions first? Feel free to drop it in the chat if you do, answer it right now.
Yeah, I do. Hi, this is Rick again. So I was wondering, is there any repurposing policy that you guys have there where, where you're not really, disposing so much of, which could be quality material.
Yes, Rick, that is the point. That is part of what we're doing. We're really doing what we're doing to bring light to the fact that, and this is the thing, Rick, no, it's not. It's not a policy thing. It's not. It's something that we're doing to bring light to that issue. And the thing about it is, man, it's May here, Rick, and hurricane season starts in a few months. So we're going to be going through this again, like it or not, in a handful of months.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. We want to make that a policy. We really want to even have, try to implement some changes in building codes, because we've got California ranch homes here in a place with, ground that's beneath sea level. We get, we've got climate change happening. We've got sea levels rising. We've got Category 5 hurricanes happening more often than not. So these are all policy issues that we, would like to and are trying to bring attention to through projects that use reclaimed materials from these damaged goods to put them into use again. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, what you guys are doing is great. And I think that's probably the start to the policy is kind of showing them that there is, most people want to see that there's profit, that kind of runs the show. But for us, when you're looking at it from a sustainability point is, you want to make sure how it's affecting the environment and, the social impacts really, that it comes down to it, because you're calling this place, I don't know where Cancer Alley is. I actually, when you were saying that, I was looking it up on Google Maps, see if anything came up as far as Cancer Alley, and it didn't. So, but yeah, I think that's the main thing is I was in the seminar where they were talking about the ROI, the return on investment for it, and that's what everyone really wants to see. But once you get beyond that, and you look at it from a sustainability point of view, then I think everyone's going to jump on and saying, you know what, we need to have a policy where we're not just dumping all this stuff that can be repurposed. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Rick. Two things about policy. One, the policy aspect of making sure that, because we understand that not all buildings can be built with old growth materials, because it's a terribly it's a finite resource, and then in addition to that, it's time consuming to extract that resource. So in terms of policy, we want to see more is buildings that are
Raised.
Buildings that are raised, but also buildings that take old growth materials and then combine them with more sustainable materials as well, so that we can work towards saving more of the homes that have those materials in them. Because like Malik was talking about earlier, there are a lot of we save a lot of the materials. However, many of the homes, unfortunately, we cannot get to, and they end up being thrown in the landfills. So the second part about policy is the return on investment. It's not so much about policy, but it's about the return on investment and how people look at their return on investments. If it's just from a fiscal point of view, a financial point of view, then that's a measurement that many times we don't typically see with some of the we're not seeing at the moment. But we see a lot of social returns where a lot of the people they don't have anything to look forward to here, but when they participate in those projects, you can see their faces on the first day, like they're not into it, and then later on you can see their character developing and their personality molding into something that's beautiful. And those things is what build our citizens. And I feel that we should start doing that, because that's what impacts our community as a whole. And those are the things that actually makes our community better places to live when we have greater citizens. So I would like to see, that's something that I would like to see more, and that possibly can be a policy that we start doing, is how can we create policy to start measuring return on investment a lot different than we currently do. We have another question, Tori, and then we also have, tell me if I'm pronouncing this wrong or correctly, Tabaris?
Tabaris.
Tabaris. Okay, I'll answer Tori's question first, and then we'll get to you, Tabaris. Tori wants to know, how many people do we employ on these projects?
Well, Tori, it varies. The last handful of projects we've done, we've employed 5 guys. Here's the deal. It is all manual labor.
Yeah.
It is all reclaiming. It's basically, and there's a 2-pronged approach to that. In deconstruction, which is what we do, in the deconstruction process, what you're basically doing is you're taking apart a house like a Lego piece from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. So in that deconstruction, depending on who those guys are, they get to see how that home was built first off. You get to see what an actual 2x4 or 2x6 was 150 years ago versus 40 years ago. You get to see and smell what old growth cypress smells like, because it smells awesome. You have guys that say that. They come in and then, they're locals, but they say, man, I never knew that this, never knew what this was. We used to burn this stuff on the fire when I was a kid. It didn't, it was trash. But from beginning to end, you've got deconstruction of the structure. You've got pulling nails. You've got discarding material that was damaged as it comes down. And then that same process, sometimes it's about underemployed people. So sometimes you get people who, they just need to make $100 to pay a bill. So they may come over to the building and pull nails for a day or two. You've got other guys who, the last crew we had were basically 3 formerly incarcerated gentlemen working with us, and actually a former person fighting addiction, along with myself, Iesha, and 2 other members of the group. And we worked as a group. And so in that case, I'm just going to say 9 or 10 guys. So it really fluctuates between the size of the project and what we have to get done, up until that time's done, Tori. Also, we'll bring kids in at times and let them use a metal detector and find nails in the board, and or give them a tape measure and let them run it from one to the other and see how long 12 feet is, or 15 feet. So it varies. Tabaris, did you have a statement or a question? I'm not sure. Tabaris?
Unmute yourself, Tabaris, if you're trying to ask.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was trying to unmute myself. I'm actually from the South, and I actually went to Alabama A&M in the Black Belt region, and I'm familiar with Cancer Alley in the Mississippi Delta. I just wanted to know a couple of things. How connected are you with the Deep South Environmental Justice Center with Dr. Beverly Wright? I know she's doing a lot of environmental injustice type work in that space around the Louisiana and Mississippi area. And the second thing is I actually work in workforce development, economic development, and on a national level. And I wanted to know, is it how is your ecosystem, workforce development ecosystem? Because when you're doing this type of work, it takes a lot of wraparound services from participants. So that can be very costly. We talk about access to transportation, access to childcare, So I just want to know, I know the South is the ecosystem is very fragmented, right? And it's a lack of funds, right? And so, what's your expectation of building this, and what's your goals for the next couple of years? And any way I could be assistance, because this is kind of passionate to me as well. So I
Yes.
just want to hear, yeah.
Well, as far as Dr. Wright's concerned, I actually personally am not affiliated with Dr. Wright. I've met her on a handful of occasions, and I've got a friend of mine who's a member of Let's Be Bigger, who's actually he's a pretty impactful guy, a guy by the name of Robert Taylor. He actually he's drawn a lot of attention to Reserve Louisiana in protesting against the DuPont Denka facility there. It's Dr. Wright, Mr. Taylor, myself, and a handful of other people actually took a tour with Mr. Reagan, the first Black EPA head that we have now. Came here and did a tour of environmental, I guess I'd say attrition across the country. And one of those sites was DuPont Denka, and Dr. Wright was actually one of the people who organized that. So we did that ride together. And Iesha and I actually met some years ago at a presentation that Dr. Wright put on at Xavier for a social justice, environmental justice program in New Orleans back in, was it 2019?
It was the HBCU Climate Change Conference in Louisiana. They have the annual one.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So that was my first time meeting Dr. Beverly Wright.
Wait,
Go ahead.
Okay, but with the infrastructure aspect of working, everything you mentioned is accurate. But we really see that as an opportunity because that infrastructure has yet to be put in place, and that it brings attention to the fact that these social and economic and environmental problems they're all related. So that was it. We actually just purchased this vehicle because that was the problem. A lot of these guys are underemployed or unemployed. They don't have rides. So even if you want to, you can employ 4 or 5 guys, but you may have to travel, 20 minutes in each direction to pick them up because this is not a place that has, public transportation, or, these guys don't have vehicles of their own. Also, what you said about childcare, things of that sort. We feel that for us, what we do is the purpose of Let's Be Bigger was to treat our community as a community like a family. So there are times that if the weather's right and, it's an environment where we can, have the kids be 100 feet from the house or whatever it is, well, let them come see, let them. Also, it's the idea of community pride. So let them come and see their dad, who may not have ever been in a position to do something that gives him pride in front of the eyes of his child, work and do something constructive, and leave there with their child, having spent the day, see their dad deconstruct the house. And while they're doing that, we pull these houses down, and sometimes they've got huge beehives in them, and you've got honey, or they've got because the house has been sitting underneath a tree for the last 75 years. The kids can dig and see worms, and so there's a lot tied into it. But what we would like to do is again, what we're doing is we're bringing attention to that. We were actually working with someone who recently passed away. We were doing a hybrid type of demolition in which we were using heavy machinery with manual labor, and it did take a lot of the heavy lifting out of the deconstruction process. And we're able to, complete it in really a fraction of the time that we normally do in doing it completely manually. So, but as far as the cost effectiveness of it, another aspect of it is that when it comes to these homes with, especially the old growth cypress or the longleaf pine, the materials are very valuable. So what in us salvaging these materials years ago and selling it and using the materials to gain a profit, to fund things, what we've been looking into and going into more recently is actually production. with these materials, because that's a way that we can use the materials to fund the the projects that we're implementing and bring it to it to let people know that this is actually profitable. A 6x6 piece of cypress, a 6x6 cypress beam, 15 feet long, wholesale might go $3 to $5 a foot. Well, retail, that same beam, depending on where you bring it and who's willing to buy it, might go from 25 to 40 bucks a foot. If somebody wants it bad enough. So I think, and that's another teaching aspect for our community. Traditionally here, we are consumers. So to bring production into the to the conversation and make it obvious to people that there is a value in going through this process. Maybe might take a little longer, but there's a value to it, and the payoff is worth the effort we put into it. And like Iesha said, also another thing about it is, and this is important to us, it is the homes, the salvaging, the infrastructure, all of that is the excuse, not the reason. The reason is the people. It is the community. It is to employ people that are in a place that, and I believe it was, no, it wasn't Brian. It was, who was it? Rick. Rick mentioned he wasn't sure where Cancer Alley was. Cancer Alley is in southeast Louisiana along the Mississippi River. It starts at about Baton Rouge, which is the state capital, and it travels south to a place called St. Charles, Louisiana, St. Charles Parish. And it's lined with oil refineries, chemical production, agriculture companies, because the Mississippi River here it's the largest river industrial corridor in America. So all the rivers that channel down from the north to the south and east that meet in the center of the continent come down through the Mississippi River. And over time, this, which was many years ago agricultural land, and it still is, we still grow a lot of sugarcane and a lot of cotton and rice here because of the water and the climate. But industrial refineries sprung up along this river because of the easy access that the large boats have. And we feel that that industry is, just to go quickly to the idea of Cancer Alley, we didn't coin it Cancer Alley. That's the term that was given by, environmentalists and whatnot. And we feel that our community should have a choice or a say in what Cancer Alley means to us, because for us, we still have to live here. We still have to work here. So we can't really say we shun industry completely, but we can say, how do we help industry clean up some of these problems? We should have a say in how these industries function. Some of this money that on the backs of the people who live here should be used to implement some of the things that are discussed at conferences like this. People who live here and who have to experience hurricanes on an annual basis should have homes that maybe meet a code that is used in a foreign country and not just locally. So that's where policy comes into it. I know I'm saying a lot, but so that was that. What do you think, Tavares?
I mean, I completely agree. I think it would be, it would probably ease y'all side of the work if y'all build a table of employers, manufacturers, people that can assist y'all, people that can actually help with capacity building, because you don't want to only build you want to build a workforce, correct? But you also want to, build community wealth as well. So like the idea of, helping individuals, with capacity building activities, how to manage your money, simple things like that, and, get more financial institutions that can support y'all work, it can, it can actually happen. But we can reach out, we can change information, see how, what our partnership look like,
Definitely. And how I go about working and my thoughts, the thought that I carry on in my day to day is there is zero money making happening without investing in people and without investing in their development, teaching them skills. So Tavares, I 100% agree that you do have to invest in people. You do have to take the time and teach them how to manage their money, teach them what to eat. Because unfortunately, Malik can talk about this. The last man we did the project with, he passed away. It was so sudden, but he passed away from a heart attack. And that moment when that happened, to me, it was just a moment where I was like, oh my goodness, like health is real. You have to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself is healthy people on a team, you can do more work. If people are unhealthy, you may or may not get things done because people are out of the office, people are not able to attend things because they're not feeling well, they're not able to give it their all because they're not doing well. And even with the laborious task that deconstructing a home, it takes physical labor, it takes strength. So investing in people and just making sure that they have everything that they need in order to be a healthy person goes a long way. Will has a question. Will is the USGBCA LA program manager, and he was talking a little bit about, let's see, how New York was impacted by Hurricane Ida as well, and it ended up killing several folks who were living in the basements in New York. So we heard about that tragedy as well. Hurricane Ida tore things up. My group, he said his group worked with the New York State to distribute funds to replace oil heating systems knocked out by Ida with heat pump HVAC systems at no cost to homeowners there. Hurricane Ida was a disaster. Till this day, there's still people still have blue tarp on their roofs. I'm glad that you all are doing something about it there. People here are just not receiving the help that they need. About last week, a community group came in, and Hurricane Ida happened last year, about a year ago. So
yeah, Will also, and for everyone there, Will's actually our host here. The idea of the HVAC systems at no cost to homeowners. The part of the rinse and repeat cycle that we have here in Southeast Louisiana that we also want to bring attention to is the idea that when the storms come and damage things, you have to understand that they're replaced with the same types of poorly made, poorly sourced materials that they're replacing. So you've got people putting sheetrock back up on walls when sheetrock really shouldn't be on walls in a place that gets water as much as we do. You've got people with particle board, wrapping exterior boards of their homes and they shouldn't. The idea of replacing what's been damaged with something that is more futuristic, I guess I would say, and this is what this conference is about how do we take the damage that's been done and build on it in a manner in which we don't create the same problem that we just had. And unfortunately, that's what's happening. I mentioned the idea of raised structures here because California ranch style homes here are built on concrete slabs, and you can have people that homes on concrete slabs that live in flood zones where they're guaranteed to get 5 feet of water when a north wind comes in. They're going to get that we get that much flooding here. So it's really the idea that what we're proposing is that a short-term goal that we have is to simply take a structure that we take down in the next coming months and build a home of the future for what a home in Southeast Louisiana should look like. Other people are doing that in other parts of the state here, but they're few and far between. And here in this particular region where we have really been the poster child of what a bad place looks like after a storm. We want to say this is what tomorrow should look like because we've got people, you've got housing crises going on. You've got population, movements because of climate change and different issues. And this could be a place that for the lack of a better term, is really underpopulated. We've got lots of space. We've got lots of land. And if it were cleaned up and presented to a new audience, or even the audience that we have, or I'll say audience, but a new demographic, it could be, a great thing. Let's see. Yeah, and the idea of mental and physical health is another part of it. When I came back to Louisiana after the storm, I left because when I came back to check on things, it was literally depressing. And we had power, we had no water, the roads were blocked, trees down, snapped telephone poles. And luckily I was able to turn tail and drive away. But people had to live here. There were children who had to stay here. There were people that had to figure it out. People still living in trailers. And that is part of what this rebuilding is for us. We're saying, yes, we may live here, but when we rebuild, how do we rebuild in a manner in which it's actually a healthy thing?
Yes, we can't. It's sustainable.
Yeah, it has to be sustainable. So it may cost a little more, up front, but it has to, we have to bring attention to how we solve these problems. And again, with a conference like this one, we're really trying to bring these solutions and ideas to the general population here, because that's just the thing. Most people here don't have the time or the energy to address these issues, or to be up on what's going on in the green movement, or the environmental justice workforce, or things of that sort. So yeah.
One thing that Malik and I haven't mentioned yet, you probably could imply it, but we haven't said it directly, was when we employ people, we make a very conscious effort and decision to employ local. So everyone that we hire, everyone who works on the team for specific projects, they are from the community. And we try really hard to help them see the vision. And that includes from the parents, not the parents, but the children, the youth to the adults. And that's where the social investing comes in. And Malik can talk a little bit more about it, is Cancer Alley is a place where if you're not able to see, it can be a depressing place. But what we do with Let's Be Bigger is we give hope to the youth, and we give hope to adults. So like this weekend, we're taking a group of kids to go racing, and then we'll be taking a group of kids to go kayaking, so that they can see the world from a different viewpoint. And that's what we're really focusing on. And it's not just youth, we also invest in adults in that way. We want them to be able to see a light, and to see that you are and you can do things in this life, and you can make a difference in your community. You don't have to wait for anyone to do that for you. And there are people, we do have an example of a person who actually believes that, who we've been working with. His name is Anthony. He was imprisoned, and now he's out, he's working. And he definitely enjoyed working with us, and he sees a difference in the difference that he can make in his community. So that's an example of one of our success stories, is that people in the community, they can see that how they can make a difference. And we do a lot of social investing in the community.
Any other questions or statements anyone want to say? We'll continue.
Yeah, it's me, Rick, again. I had to switch to my laptop. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, socially and stuff. That's key. Looking at it from my job's perspective. So, for us, some of the things that we do, we provide credits for regional businesses that are small businesses. That way, you're like you, how you were saying you hire within your community. So when we go into, maybe underserved or underrepresented community, we try to make sure that we invest back into that community and give them the opportunities to see the generational wealth, because a lot of times that's what they need, and it makes, like you can turn a bad area into a good area by giving people hope, and you give people hope and you change things around, then it becomes a whole different community. So, and I know that just speaking from the community I grew up in, I grew up in a predominantly Black and Latino community. And, we didn't get the best education, but so what do you have to do? You got to get out of that community to get the better education, right? And then you come back to that community and you try and invest back into it, just kind of like what you guys are doing. But, I'm doing it from a, water district type of organization. But yeah, good job on what you guys are doing, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and Rick, another thing that that's the thing. I'm from a town called Garrettville, which isn't far from here, but I'm in. We're 5 miles from my hometown, but I was fortunate enough to have a family that had resources, and I was able to move and travel and go to school and do all these things, and then come back home and be effective in the community. But that's the thing, that's the vision of what Let's Be Bigger is in this actual salvaging process. It's the that there are enough blighted homes and abandoned homes in communities around the rural South, especially, that those homes could basically serve as you talk about return on investment. They could serve as just a resource in which the right people trained to do the right things can turn every bit of that house into something that benefits the community. So, to build a local garden from some of those materials, or an overhang on the side of someone's home that was damaged during the storm, or a bench for the kids to sit on, or, it could all be repurposed. And it's really about repurposing the people. Like I said, the materials are the excuse, not the reason. The people are the reason. So yeah, man. And that's the thing, the root of all of this is really to expose our people to more. That's what bigger is. Like I said, even the idea of this Zoom call, my intention is to have some of our young kids come in and do this next time, have some of them sit and tell you what they think and, how they feel about it, and just interact with people from different communities and see what's being done and use the technology around them to solve a problem. What you said about water and the displacement of water and movement and treatment, it's the idea that we want to teach our kids how these systems work so that they can have an interest in it and actually solve some of these problems. Because some of those kids might say, I have an idea. What if we do this? Yeah. If the water's always coming here and doing this and doing that, what happens if we do that? And that's what we want to do. We want to involve them in the problem solving. And, that to me is what the future is really about. All of us here, we're all adults. The world we're trying to build might take 10, 15, 20 years to implement. So who's gonna pick up that mantle? So the earlier we introduce them to that, the sooner they can be a part of it and actually, make some of these things a reality.
If I may ask a question, is that possible? I know you guys are running off on time. But...
No, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jenna, and I'm here at the LA conference. But this is probably has been one of my favorite panels. I guess you two, just because I was not expecting to be kind of so blown away by listening and understanding kind of what you do in Cancer Alley, but also the innovation around, why don't we kind of follow foreign building codes as opposed to US building codes with in Louisiana specifically and kind of lower Delta have very different climates than kind of where the codes originate in New York and Texas and California. So it's so ingenious. What you're talking about is so brilliant and ingenious. And I'm really inspired. So I wanted to thank you all, first of all. And I love the focus on kind of kids and education. One thing that I kind of was curious about was you were talking about repurposing, old growth material, salvageable material that are kind of very clearly seen as valuable. But what about kind of the vinyl siding on manufactured homes, or kind of the nails, the quote unquote cheaper material? I arrived to this talk late, so you might have already talked about it, but I just want to know how you guys repurpose the material that is not seen as valuable, because it's such a great kind of parallel to how humans see each other as well. As what do you do when material is not seen as valuable? How do you make that valuable? How do you expose it to be valuable?
Yeah, that you want to go? Can I go?
You
I'm
can
excited,
go.
Jenna. So I'll
I
go.
love
Yeah.
that question,
Well, that's
too.
the thing. That's what this is about. The idea that, as the saying, the stone that the builder refuses, the head cornerstone. The people that are considered the least valuable are the people in this community. And just to get kind of country on, God made roaches too. So this is all we're all have a purpose. And like you said about vinyl and well, aluminum, anything that can be salvaged and even recycled, we recycle it. So if it's aluminum siding in the home, we pull it off. We can, it may only be a handful of bucks, but it'll pay for some guy's lunch for the day, or put gas in the vehicle. Like it has a purpose. Same thing with the nails. We pull nails. We have buckets of nails. Vinyl siding. Some things they have to go into the trash. But actually, in this community, especially, you've got people that they're disadvantaged, and they've got a home that they can actually use that reclaimed siding. They aren't. That's the thing. Even the structures we take down, you'll take down a 150-year-old building and realize they used a building that was 190 years old to build that building. So, you start taking stuff out and you realize, man, this is older than the house that we're taking down. So yeah, we put it all to use. Even like art projects, we've got tin, we've got stacks of reclaimed tin. Yeah, photography. We really use it all to teach and try to find a way in which we can take this stuff and just show people that this still has a value. So yeah, I'll get people to come by. They'll knock on the door and say, hey, my grandmom's house, this is messed up. It may not be reclaimed cypress. It may just be some pine 2x4s that aren't old growth stuff, but they can use that to fix a wall, to patch a ceiling. They'll take something and they'll say, well, look, my mom's shed in the back that we keep the lawnmower in came down. And, what about this? Well, look, I don't, it's not going to be cypress, but I've got, these materials, this is this. And, so yeah, we use it all. We use it all. I try not to, and that's kind of my problem. I need a bigger facility because I hang on to stuff. So that's why the production aspect of it is to really put some of this stuff, just like we're going to start making.
We're collectors.
Yeah, but we're going to start making flower boxes and, benches for the kids to sit on. And even that brings the kids outside. To cut a piece of cypress and have a kid say, wow, that smells so nice. I never smelled wood before. That's the thing. You have people that they've never been in an environment, or have a kid learn that, I can pull nails. So, hey, this makes sense. I'm starting to, I figured it out, okay, this is how you use a hammer. Okay, this, so it's all, it's wonderful. Honestly, I love it. I like it. I like us. I like people, so it's cool.
And Will, let us know if we have time for one more question. I know time is winding down. We have about 2 more minutes.
Yeah, everybody, please email us. Iesha put our email up. It's letsbebigger@gmail.com. Anybody, please, if you're interested and liked it or have an interest, please email us. I'm not sure how the Zoom thing's going to work, and we're going to be able to get back in touch with anybody, wherever it is. I don't know. She probably knows better than I do. Yeah, if you're interested and you want to, just share something with us, we'd love to know whatever it is you have to say.
And if it's easier for you, you can also drop your email and we can get in touch with you. So just drop your email in the group chat and then we'll take the information down and we can get back to you. One last question.
You got time for one last question? If anybody's got anything to ask or say? Nope.
Nope.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, everybody. Maya, Luke, Laura, Jenna, Calvin, Brian. I'm Malik, so that doesn't count. Everybody.
Yeah, it was so nice to hear from you all, and we really enjoyed being able to talk to you all today.
Yeah, thank you guys. And remember, it's a long journey. Just I was talking to you about policy. It took us a while to create some of the policies that we have, where we're using recycled asphalt on some of our construction projects and stuff like that. So, but you know what? You're not alone. We're all there trying to make this a better place for the future generations.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm actually in my master's program at Columbia in architecture, and I would love to have you guys speak at a seminar or something kind of in the next academic year. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that connection happens sometime soon.
Oh yeah.
Just drop we're collecting emails now, so drop your email and we can we'll get back to you all.
Because Jenna, I actually want to build something. Yeah, so please, let's talk to you soon. I'll give you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick, man. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and I also like to have you guys speak at, so I'm also part of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee for the USGBCLA, and it'd be nice to get you guys on a Zoom or, share what you guys are doing out there with, our members.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And take care of yourself,
Yeah.
please.
Yes.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.